Right then, this is a road test video, and this is for a Honda Accord 2.4 EX automatic. This particular car is registered RA08JUY, and mileage at the start of the road test is 53,931 miles. The reason we do the videos is basically so that if you're looking at this car online in an advert, you actually get to see that very car in operation. We're fully aware that lots of our customers travel from far afield to come and see our cars, so the least we can do is to go to time and effort to do this, because we know just how frustrating it can actually be to go and see a car which looks great in the adverts and the description and the photographs, only to drive it to find out it's got a fundamental fault which you clearly should have been told about before setting off. So hence that's why we do it. It's also done on these very quiet country roads very close to our premises, so hopefully it'll be representative of what you feel yourself if offered a test drive in the car. So properly wild day today, so I hope we don't have any more downpours to spoil the video, but I'll do my best. The car, as you'll know from the description, I mean, this is a quite extraordinary car, not only in terms of what the car is, but more importantly the way the car's been owned and maintained throughout its life. And without a complete spoiler, I mean, it's immediately obvious as soon as you drive the car because it is so incredibly tight. I will actually go through the mechanical stuff a bit more quickly than normal because I want to talk about the car more in detail, because I am quite passionate about this particular series of Hondas. Engine, of course, starts absolutely instantly, settles to a completely even idle. There are no warning lights on the dashboard at all, and as I said, I'll talk more about the feel and drive of the engine later on. Engine feeds through into automatic gearbox, 5-speed auto, one which you can use in a manual setting as well. All the gear shifts absolutely perfect, lovely and smooth. Tap it to the right hand side, it selects me 4th gear in this case. I can pull it back to go down the gears, accelerate, push forward to go up the gears all the way up to 5th, and then back across when I'm done. Hardly ever used in all honesty, but it works perfectly. The time to use it is normally when you're doing an overtaking manoeuvre and you just want to make sure that the gearbox isn't going to change up when you're halfway through it, so you can really control the gears you're in. And it works brilliantly, especially with this engine because it's so high revving. That means you can hold on to revs far longer if you really want to, and also if you're in the mood, of course, because it is that kind of car. Steering of the car, I can feel absolutely no wear through it. It tracks absolutely bullet straight. There's no vibrations at all coming back through the steering wheel at this speed or any speed up to the legal limit. And likewise the chassis of the vehicle, what I'm looking for when I'm driving along is you'll hear it hitting bumps, but what you don't want to hear is any kind of chatterings or knocking noises coming from underneath, and there is nothing at all. It's absolutely spot on in that respect. Just going to get around the corner, give the brakes a bit of a shove. Could have picked a straighter bit of road to do it. There we go. It's a really good brake pedal on the car. Again, looking for, I don't want to feel any kind of pulsing or vibrations to the brake pedals, and there's nothing at all. And it pulls the car nice and straight. It doesn't pull sort of violently left or right under hard braking, so they're all very good indeed. Looking around inside the car, it's not been cleaned yet, but the car's in stunning condition. It really is. It's going to be the briefest of cleans required, and beautifully made. To believe this car is 11 years old is just hard to kind of register because it is just so superbly put together. They are, astonishingly well made cars. As I said at the start of the video, the point of it is literally just to pick up on any sort of mechanical issues there are. There's nothing at all. It drives absolutely beautifully. Everything's working as it should. Heated seats, air conditioning's ice cold, sat nav, radio, CD, all the displays, all the gauges. And what's lovely on this one, it's fitted with this optional automatic cruise control. So press the cruise control on, and set, and it'll maintain the gap to the car in front. So instead of you having to make minute adjustments the whole time, or more bigger adjustments, it does it for you. It recognises it, and it's one of the earlier systems to use this, and it's a very sought after system. It also does lane departure warnings and all that kind of stuff as well. So you've got the button on the steering wheel to do that, and again, all working exactly as it should, but a very nice feature on this car. The fact that it was actually owned by Honda first makes me feel as though it's obviously a top spec car given to one of their managers, by all accounts a Japanese chap. So maybe it's and you know, obviously he's had a nice spec Honda to drive around in whilst he worked for the company. So coming to the car itself, the reason I love these cars, and I've always loved them, and I am biased, so turn off now if you don't want to hear all this drivel, because it probably is going to be, is I just believe this is one of the cars that Honda got absolutely right, and I put this right up there. Not in terms of performance or, you know, how quick you can go around a track, but things like the S2000, the Integra Type Rs, the NSXs of this world, which is where Honda put in a lot of effort to get all the elements as good as they possibly could, and I believe this is another one of them. I really do, because it's just a car that it some of its parts are absolutely incredible. Starting with the engine, the 2.4 engine is an absolute belter, because what it gives you is that mid-range thrust that the 2 litre won't have. So you get up to speed with far fewer revs much more quickly than the 2 litre does. The advantage of that is basically that it's a more relaxing car to drive. And in my experience, and I've had loads of them, and I've had loads of the 2 litres, which are wonderful cars, so I'm not putting it down at all. It's just that, I get better fuel economy out of the 2.4s. It's as simple as that. Because I'm not working the engine so hard, but also because you get, let's say, a much more relaxing drive on the back of it. You're not having always up and down the gearbox. Especially on the motorway, you find that accelerating at sort of 60, 70 miles an hour, the 2 litres will drop down a gear or two. This one quite often won't even drop down a gear. So, and then at the upper ranges, it's just fantastic. It's just like a crystallization of power. It just zings through to the red line. It is a brilliant unit. Now that'd be all well and good if the engine wasn't reliable or was harsh or unrefined, and yet it's so sweet in its power delivery. The lack of vibration is astonishing. It's a 4-cylinder engine that gives about as much vibration as a 6-cylinder, but obviously it's lighter weight, so it's not so heavy on the front of the car, which makes for better handling. But they've also got a reputation for incredible reliability and longevity. It is a masterpiece of an engine. It really is. Then you come to the chassis. The steering, which I mentioned, you can't feel any wear. It is a proper hydraulic power steering system, and all the better for it, because it feels fantastic in hand. It's so accurate, and the way it works with the chassis is simply brilliant. So you go through corners like this one, it's a wet, horrible day, turn in, you just got this wonderful feel that you feel the weight of the car through the steering, rather than electric power steering, which you feel nothing at all apart from it feels heavy, or depending on how they set them up. But it's just so fluid and oily in feel, but it just makes the car feel really settled on the road. And the chassis obviously helps in that respect, because the damping of the chassis is absolutely sensational. It rides beautifully well. It's not a completely cosseting, smooth, pampering ride. It's very, very, very comfortable. Far more so than, let's say, a 3 Series. It can handle the little bumps, imperfections far better than one of those, certainly on sports tyres. But what it still possesses is a beautiful balance and precision to the chassis, in a kind of typically Honda unassuming way. It really is a class act, because I always think that in this category of cars you always had the kind of obvious candidates, and that would be 3 Series BMW, quite rightly, Audi A4, certainly Mercedes C-Class, and then you had your sort of higher end sort of Volkswagen Fords, that kind of thing. But this isn't necessarily the best at any individual thing, but it's pretty much close to the top of everything. And as a sum of everything, it is just brilliant as a car, as an all-rounder. I think the 3 Series BMW is a fantastic car on the right road. Bumpier roads like this, it's especially say the more sports orientated ones, they can feel quite harsh, and they're nothing like as reliable as these. Ironically, I think the Ford Mondeo was a brilliant chassis, absolutely brilliant chassis, but it's the quality of the car, the quality of the mechanicals, again, doesn't compare to the Honda in the real world, and certainly with many years down the road. And then you get to things like the Audi A4, which I might have always thought was quite a one-dimensional car. 1.8 turbos, lovely engine to use, but it's all kind of rush, nothing, and soundtrack's nothing like the normally aspirated engine when it's sort of zinging through. But this is personal preference. It's not to say those are bad cars, because they're not. It's just that if you want a car to drive, to own, that you don't have to dip your pockets in every 2 seconds because things are going wrong, then the Accord is a wonderful car, and it's a very interesting choice for people. It's not the obvious candidate, and I think it's all the better for it. And to find one like this one, with the ownership and history attached to it, and the mileage, of course, it's a very, very rare beast indeed. And it drives superbly. As I said, it's the point of the video is mostly to tell you about the car and how it drives in terms of any issues, and there's nothing, as I said. But on this one, I said I do leave space just to reminisce how much I love these things, because it is a simply brilliant car. As always though, if you've got any questions about the car, don't hesitate, do give us a call.